The following is a special news presentation of News Talk 1480 WHBC Canton.
Sir, County 911. Marcia, what's your last name?
Mammone, M-A-M-M-O-N-E.
How old are your kids?
5 and 3.
Okay,
oh my God,
okay,
he just broke it.
okay.
I killed Macy and James, and I killed Margaret too. I killed the kids, and I killed her too.
James Mammone deserves to die for what he did to his children and his mother-in-law.
And I cocked the hammer, and I shot her point blank right in the middle of the face.
Have you ever thought about it? Could you kill someone? What if you had the burden of deciding whether someone lives or dies? Would you ever be so repulsed by someone else's actions that you could tell a judge, kill him? On January 22nd, 2010, that's exactly what 12 Stark County residents sitting on the jury in the James Mammone III murder trial had to do. And they decided.
We, the jury in this case, being duly impaneled and sworn, do hereby find that the aggravating circumstances that James Mammone III was found guilty of committing do outweigh the mitigating factors presented in this case by proof beyond a reasonable doubt. We therefore unanimously find that the sentence of death should be imposed upon James Mammone III.
I'm Pam Cook. For the next hour, we'll take a look at a murder trial that evoked outrage, sadness, disbelief, and hatred throughout our community. We'll talk with the prosecutors who put Mammone on trial, the toll it took on them, and how they made their way through the gruesome details. We'll hear from a judge who explains what it's like to sit on a death penalty case and the enormous pressure that it presents. And how did it affect the families of both the defendant and the victims? A psychologist and a victim's witness expert will offer some insight. And finally, we'll talk to the warden at a prison where James Mammone III will live out his final days.
Sir, County 911. Do you need police, fire, medical help?
Both.
Pardon me?
I have both. My ex-husband outside pouring gasoline on the vehicle.
Okay, ma'am, where do you live?
Canton Township, 414 Altman Avenue, Northwest.
Okay, 4014 Altman Avenue?
Northwest.
Okay, what's your first name?
Marcia.
Okay, stay on line with me just a moment.
I've got my kids in the car, too.
So your kids are in the car he's pouring gas on?
No, they're not in the car he's pouring gas on.
Okay.
But this is not good. He's been going crazy all night. He was arrested.
And you are in Canton Township?
It's broken.
Okay,
oh my God,
okay,
he just broke it.
Okay, stay on the line. Just one moment. Sheriff Watson's up, Pat.
I'm sorry, what?
Sheriff Watson's up. Can I help you?
Yeah, my ex-husband just broke in my house. It's at 414 Altman Avenue, Northwest.
Are you okay, ma'am?
No, I'm not okay.
Where is he at?
I don't know. He just broke the back door. He just poured gasoline on the car outside. And my kids are in the car.
They're in the car where he did that at?
No, but they're outside in the car he's driving.
Okay, is he gone?
No, I don't know. I'm not going downstairs.
Okay, I just need to know, are the kids in the car where he poured gasoline on the car at?
No.
Okay. And how old are your kids that's in the car?
5 and 3.
Who put them in the car? You?
No, he did. He had them for visitation last night.
And he just bringing them back?
No. He just gets somebody here. He's probably pouring gasoline downstairs too.
7698. Okay, hold on one moment. What's your name, ma'am?
Marcia.
Marcia, what's your last name?
Mammone, M-A-M-M-O-N-E.
What's his name?
James.
And you don't know where he is now?
No, I don't.
Same last name?
Yes.
Okay. Where are you at in the house?
He's downstairs. I'm upstairs. He's downstairs.
Can you hear him around the house?
He's hitting the windows or something. I don't know what he's doing.
Hold on one moment.
I think he's leaving.
Is he getting in the car?
Yeah, he's getting in his car and leaving.
He's a white male, about 5'11", 230, blonde and blue. White male.
I think he's leaving. I don't know.
5'11", 230, blonde and blue. Say it again, ma'am. What did you say?
I thought he was leaving. I don't know. I didn't see him pull out of the driveway.
Okay. You still don't know where the kids are?
No, I don't.
Where are you at in the house upstairs?
I'm upstairs in my bedroom, the front bedroom. I looked out the back bedroom window and I heard this car come up, and it was him, and he was doing the gasoline, and then he broke in the back door. I heard the back door window smash. I have no idea if he's still here or not.
And you know the kids are not in the house?
I don't know that.
Okay. You think it's a cutlass, Supreme?
On June 8, 2009, a crime occurred in Canton so despicable, so unfathomable, a father had taken the lives of his 3-year-old daughter and his 5-year-old son. He also killed his former mother-in-law, all in an attempt to get back at his wife, who had chosen to divorce him. Everyone has things about their job they hate, but what would it be like to sift through more than 400 pictures of the brutal slayings of 3-year-old Macy Mammone, 5-year-old James Mammone IV, and 58-year-old Margaret Aiken? Pictures of children with their throats slit, still sitting presumably safe in their car seats. Pictures of a woman who had been shot in the face. Stark County's Chief Criminal Prosecutor Dennis Barr and Assistant Prosecutor Krista Hartnett say when they first heard about the case, they knew it had death penalty written all over it.
The two of us were communicating right away, having gone through some other ones. When these facts were starting to come forth right away, we're looking at all of the facts, and is it going to be something that would trigger the death penalty? And right away, we're just looking at the defendant and his background and just trying to think in our minds where this is going. So yes.
How do you find out about the case itself?
A lot of times the detectives will call us up. In this particular case, they called us pretty much immediately after they discovered the bodies. That day that the bodies were discovered, in this case, we actually had to prepare a search warrant for James Mammone's blood because we had learned through speaking with the detectives that he'd indicated he'd taken some pills, and so we wanted to get his blood to see if in fact that was true, and it turned out in our opinion that it wasn't true because there were no drugs in his system that showed up on a blood test. We get contacted pretty much right away on every murder.
Then you get all the evidence and you start sifting through all this evidence, which was pretty grim. What is your thought process through all of this?
My initial thought process in all of this was this guy deserves to go to death row. Just from initially hearing what he had done, killed 2 small children, his own small children, his mother-in-law. This, to me, the moment I heard the facts of it was, well, this one's going to go all the way. It's going to go to trial. This is one that we need 12 people of the community to decide. We're not going to make the decision in this one. A jury has to do it.
And as we were sifting through the evidence, that opinion and that feeling only got stronger. I mean, there was nothing that you found visually or anything that was collected that lessened that effect or that feeling. It just the opposite. It just substantiated it all the more.
And you talk about going to trial, and a lot of the people that, when this story broke on our news, people were calling in and they're going, why is this case even going to trial? Why did it?
Because we were not going to let Mr. Mammone plead to any life sentence. We have the ability as prosecutors to speak with the victim's family and say, look, here's your options. In this case, not this particular case, but in past cases, we'd sit down and tell them, look, we really don't think we'll get a death penalty here, but we can get you this. In this case, it screamed for the death penalty. James Mammone is the poster child for the death penalty. So we never even considered allowing him to plead with us saying, okay, you can get life without parole. That's not sufficient in this case. That's why he had to go to trial. He could have chosen to go before a 3-judge panel. He could have chosen to enter a plea of guilty, but we were not going to agree on a sentence. We would have still sought the death penalty even if he pled guilty, because this, like I say, this case just screams for the death penalty. This is, why do you have the death penalty if this case isn't appropriate for it?
He could have saved the jurors' part with the 3-judge panel, and that would have saved time and expenditures and those kinds of things. But in my opinion, I think he looked at it from the standpoint of it only takes 1 juror to not go along. Why would I take my chances with 3 judges as opposed to 12 individuals? Maybe I can make some headway with 1. Because I think ultimately he knew he was going to be convicted. They didn't really contest much of the evidence, and that wasn't the issue. The issue was the penalty. And I think he obviously wanted to avoid that, and he felt that was going to be his best way of doing it.
He thought people would buy into his rightness of this act in his mind, which there's a lot better ways to handle divorce.
As a prosecutor, you see way more than what the average person sees, what we see come out in trial. How do you deal with that on a day-to-day basis preparing for this trial and then actually carrying out the trial?
There's a lot of things that you do without thinking about it, and Dennis has been doing this a long time. I've been doing it a long time. He's been even longer. Certain things, obviously, you just have to kind of put in a very special place in your mind once you've seen them and once you've become familiar with them, and you try not to go there every minute of every day. When you go home, and both of us have kids, you go home and of course you are hugging your kids a little tighter and you're trying to bring, I guess, an additional perspective to your daily life.
The higher the security, the more it costs.
That's David Bobby, warden at the Ohio State Penitentiary in Youngstown.
In fact, the judge should even say that. I hope the judge is listening. Force that the photographs be painted of the kids on the wall of his room. So he has to lament every day what he did.
The case of James Mammone III has struck a nerve in Stark County. It's brought to the forefront the realization that there are things wrong with our society, that you never know what someone's thinking, that in hindsight there may have been some warning signs, but they just weren't enough. So the police and the prosecutors and the judges all go to work every day hoping that they never have to deal with such a heinous crime again. But knowing that if they do, it's their job to bring some peace to a community. James Mammone III may never say he's sorry. He may never offer any sensible reason why he committed these crimes. But we as citizens have a choice: live or die. The words of Mammone's ex-wife, as read by Assistant Prosecutor Krissa Hartnett, may have brought closure for us all. She summed it up by saying, "You may think you'll see your children again after you're gone, but I assure you, while they're playing in heaven, you'll be burning in hell."
County 911. Marcia, what's your last name?
Mammone, Mammone.
How old are your kids?
5 and 3.
Okay,
oh my God,
okay,
he just broke it.
okay.
I killed Macy and James, and I killed Margaret too. I killed the kids, and I killed her too.
James Mammone deserves to die for what he did to his children and his mother-in-law.
And I cocked the hammer and I shot her point blank right in the middle of the face.
Stark County Coroner Dr. P.S. Murthy says James Mammone III's 2 young children were killed by stab wounds, while Mammone's mother-in-law suffered 2 gunshot wounds.
You know, my heart goes out to that family, but for the poor lady that did call in and say, you know, how do you wrap your head around this? The only thing I can say is, you know what? God has 2 beautiful little angels, and they are going to help someone someday, you know?
The maximum, the ultimate punishment is in fact warranted, and I submit to you, according to the law, that a sentence of death should be your verdict for each count.
If for him, he needs to get executed right away is what needs to happen. But I had another idea that I thought about. Maybe he could get a sentence where he could get in general population to know exactly what happened, and I'm sure that'll create enough suffering for him before that execution.
I was always a very doting and loving father to Macy. I mean, she was everything to me. I killed Macy and James, and I killed Margaret too. I killed the kids, and I killed her too.
My initial thought process in all of this was, this guy deserves to go to death row. Just from initially hearing what he had done, killed 2 small children, his own small children, his mother-in-law. This, to me, the moment I heard the facts of it was, well, this one's going to go all the way. It's going to go to trial. This is one that we need 12 people in the community to decide. We're not going to make the decision in this one. A jury has to do it.
And as we were sifting through the evidence, that opinion and that feeling only got stronger.
I just feel for his family, and I don't know how his ex-wife is doing it, but I would support her and her family through anything at this point.
As I said in the jury room before we walked out, I kind of made a statement to everybody who was there, and I said, you know, I'm proud to serve with the 11 others of you, and I said, you know, I have never been around 12 other jurors that were more honest, more diligent, and I don't think anyone took it lightly. I just think everyone in the room did their best.
I'm just one of the people who's kind of chiming in about glorifying this. I think this is far from glorifying, and Pam has kind of put it nicely that your job is to report on what people want to hear about it, and that's something that I appreciate. You're giving some good objective reporting.
The preceding was a special presentation of News Talk 1480 WHBC Canton.